Hello, everybody. Buddy with Midland, Texas. This is going to be a real interesting story. Kind of long. Probably have to break it up in a couple parts. There's a lot of evidence here. It's basically talking about what was going on right before I was shot with my phone lines cut. And you're going to see in here where some of the subjects are sensitive and have words in them. And so I had to block it out due to the censorship on social media and put the first letter, and you're going to figure that out as you'll see. Okay. So here's a little story. There was a lot of things happening during the month before the murder attempt. On December 7th, 2011, my mom died in Hobbs, New Mexico, and I figured out that my dad lied about what happened that night. A few weeks later, I contacted the Hobbs Police Department and then the Lee County Sheriff's Department about this, but they didn't do anything. That is not a small thing that I can overlook, my mom dying. 2 days before Mom died, Lee County Sheriff Rod Coffman was alleged to have committed suicide. Rod had been a student of mine in a computer networking class at New Mexico Junior College, and I couldn't see him doing this. The timing was real odd, so maybe that wasn't a coincidence and maybe it wasn't suicide. I talked to his widow about this, and she mentioned organized crime going on over there. About a week after Mom died, I got a call from Greg, who was the ex-wife's wealthy friend from Nebraska. She had told me on a recording that Greg was the person who told her to try and extort money from me over my house. She had threatened me and said that if I didn't pay for her apartment, then she'd tell everybody I was crazy. I refused to pay, and that's exactly what she did with the help of her lifelong friend, Midland detective Rosie Rodriguez. Greg told me that the ex-wife had my gun and she was threatening suicide. I found her at her apartment on Caldera Street. The police were called and they agreed to let her go if she would go see her psychiatrist. I went with her to see this doctor over in Odessa. He reminds her of the previous times this had happened, which I didn't know about. He said there was a time with the bikers, and then the other time when she felt guilty for getting her daughter involved in P. Okay, remember I told you, due to censorship. At the time, she had a 12-year-old and an 18-year-old daughter. We had some conversations about P. One time I told her, I want to know who the pimps, the tricks, and the D-dealers are. And she said, it's a family business. Another day, she told me, they pay you by the hour, the minute, or the day, and I just worked 2 days, so I'm tired. She was an oncology nurse and didn't get paid by the minute. Okay, hold on a second. Here, let me... Okay. Her doctor and his records were subpoenaed for the protective order here in December 2013 because of this. But when I brought it up, the ADA objected and the judge upheld it, so it never came out in court. They were too busy trying to make me look crazy because I thought people were in the attic, which they were. This was before I documented over 50 other homeowners reporting people in the attic. On December 20th, 2011, the ex-wife called the police to my home. When they arrived, I had my phone out so I could show them some text messages the ex-wife had sent me, which would explain the craziness that was going on. The police officer surprised me and slapped my phone out of my hand and then handcuffed me. A second officer arrived who I'd recognized as being there when the ex-wife had threatened suicide a few weeks earlier. I'm not sure if he was Blake Bush or Trent Sellers, but he was the one that wears glasses. That was the two that were here. I was put into the back of a police car which had a baggie of marijuana already laying in the seat. The threat for being framed for drugs was very obvious. Interestingly, I remembered my realtor, Janine Pruitt, telling me that the previous owner of my home, Mike Lawhon, had been incarcerated for drugs before he died. I was told that Mike was reporting people breaking into his home before he died, and I wondered if the police had framed him. While in the car, the police officers told me, we better not be called back here again for this stuff. This threat was the reason I didn't call the police when my burglar alarms were going off in my home before I was shot with my phone lines cut 39 days later. I told them that we're getting a divorce. It had become clear that the ex-wife was not on my side as she had been pretending to be, and I had criminals breaking in my home every day. The police left, And when I got back into my home, I found that the text messages on my phone had been deleted. The ex-wife then said, "We're creating a document trail on you." 5 weeks later, I was shot with my phone lines cut, and I've wondered if the police had been creating a document trail to cover up my murder. I've wondered if they did the same thing to the last homeowner that was reporting the same crimes that I was reporting. Of course, at that time, I didn't know there was an underground home in the backyard where the oil show parties were going on. And I also didn't know about the many other homeowners that were reporting people in the attic. Obviously, those police did. Back then, all I had was this crazy story, and is my word against the word of multiple police officers who were lying. It took a long time to gather all of this proof and evidence. The other thing the ex-wife told me that night was, "Danny said that we'll just take your house." My brother Danny told me that he didn't say this, but there was a former neighbor named Daniel Price that had moved a few months before I was shot. He married Brandy Merrill, and she owned my home before Mike and Sarah Lawhon bought it. Daniel and Brandy lived in the home across the street from my house that when I lived here, that used to be owned by John LeGrand, the late brother-in-law of retired U.S. Congressman Mike Conaway. You see his picture up there right here. That's when he announced his retirement, July 30th. We'll talk more about that in a minute. Okay. After I was shot, I told my story to Congressman Conaway, and then was invited to meet his staff, who I provided a lot of evidence to. He advised me to contact U.S. Inspector General Michael Horowitz. Congressman Conaway announced his retirement a week after I posted the video of concrete being poured behind the Home Depot store. I had just met Homeland Security there and showed them where I believe a tunnel is located. The Inspector General is supposed to investigate allegations of corruption in federal departments such as the DEA, FBI, and Homeland Security, DHS. I had reported a suspected tunnel to the DEA a week before I was shot by somebody under my home. The records will show that. The FBI, or the El Paso DEA, and the Midland DEA. I'd also recorded FBI agent Sean Powers telling me that he was going to destroy evidence that I'd mailed them by registered mail. And there's a video on that phone call. In 2019, I showed Homeland Security agent Paul Cervantes where I believe a tunnel was located going from the Home Depot store to my home, but he seemed more interested in talking me into selling my home. A week later, concrete was poured there. That's what's showing up here. July 17, 2019, you can see them pouring concrete behind the Homeland. And here I'm showing there where I showed Homeland. I sent Homeland this map right here. And it's from Google Earth. You can see where they cut the ditch coming to my house. In my backyard's where the underground home is located. And Ricky Ronaldo says he used to live in my home. He used to go in the tunnels under. And that's what I'm saying. Here, July 17th, July 30th, after that video's made, that's when Conaway said, "Oh, I think it's time to retire." You know. Okay. I contacted the IG about 100 times via phone and email, but I never got a reply back. I later found out that Inspector General Horowitz owned a home right here in Midland. I found out this when there was an estate sale at his home. It was located in the gated community, a saddle club. One lady had told me about an underground game room in Midland where the high rollers went, and I've wondered if Conaway and or Horowitz had been there. They're high rollers. Obviously, that would be the 4 3-bedroom underground homes said to have been put in for the Bushes in 1987 with a budget on permit for $7.35 million. And based on old Google Maps, one of those underground homes is located in my backyard. Aaron Packover told me there had been 4 people murdered, died here before they cut my phone lines and shot me. I now have proof showing that I wasn't shot with my gun, which means that somebody broke into my home and shot me. I've also found evidence which has convinced me that the young previous owner of my home, Mike Lawhon, was killed here and taken to Fort Worth in October 2008. Looks like they're killing one homeowner after another, and that's just, that's only a few. There's 4 people murdered, died here. That's what Packover said. This isn't something that we can sweep under the rug, you know. I've said it before. Is this mass murders or serial killers? You know, and it explains why the crimes in my home have never stopped. They've continued daily, over and over and over. Okay, I'm going to show you some of these proofs I got here. Okay. Here's the Lee County Sheriff over there where I lived in New Mexico, southeast New Mexico, in Hobbs. And he dies on December 5th, 2011, supposedly suicide, okay? Just happened to be 2 days before my mom dies over in Hobbs with unanswered questions. All this time, I got people breaking into my home. The timing was real weird. I mentioned that in the story a minute ago. Here, okay, this was the recording, the transcript from the recording for the ex-wife, okay, and this is a video called "Follow the Money." That's it, and I'm quoting her. Said she's telling me, "You're gonna pay me $1,800 or $1,200 a month, or I'm gonna lie about everything that I seen and tell everybody you're crazy." She said, "I made a mistake. You're the only one that'll make money off the house." That's what I said. She said, "I made a mistake. The truth is, Greg told me to do it." That's what she said. And I refused to pay the money, okay? The $1,800 a month. She goes to court. This is a transcript from court at the protective order hearing. And she says, did Mr. Webb seem delusional? That's how I described him. You know, that was Rosie Rodriguez. I'm sorry. That was her lifelong friend, the detective. Okay. Here's from the ex-wife. She says, he's very delusional and he believed that I was a part of a conspiracy against him, right? And here she is admitting to trying to extort money from me and threatening to tell everybody I was crazy if I didn't pay her the money. And there's the proof right there, you know? And her friend helping her, Rosie Rodriguez. This is where we found out the court transcript where we found out that Rosie Rodriguez was lifelong friend of the ex-wife. They went to school together, elementary and junior high. They'd been friends all their life, and I didn't know it. Rosie's the one that tampered with evidence, falsified police reports, and covered this up, you know. Okay, here's more from the court case. And I was speaking, and then another conversation was referenced was, "Oh, I want to know who the pimps, the tricks, and the D dealers are." And she said, "It's a family business." Okay. Okay, more from the protective order here. And, you know, here I'm talking about a conversation we had. She tells me they pay you by the hour, the minute, or the day. I just worked 2 days and I'm tired, you know. She's an oncology nurse. They don't pay them by the minute. Okay. Here's a little bit more. This is about her. I was going to bring up about her daughter. Okay. They were asking about the P, right? And I was asked, did you make allegations that I believed her daughter was involved in this S ring as well? I said, I didn't. And then my attorney, Clack, says, Your Honor, I'm going to object. He didn't say she thought it was in an S ring. And Miss Jewett, the ADA, says, oh, I'll rephrase, you know. And then I'm asking, did you believe or did you ask Miss ex-wife whether or not her daughter was a P? And I said, no. Dr. So-and-so said that she felt guilty. And Dr. Jewett said, you know, or Miss Jewett, objection, stop it. We don't want the truth to come out, you know, objection, you know, and the judge is over there, oh, sustain, you know, yeah, we don't want the truth to come out in court, you know, and said, and then a question, did you ever ask whether or not her daughter was a P? And I said, no, the doctor's the one that said that over there. We subpoenaed the records, you know, that's why we subpoenaed the records. And this, they asked me about my mom's death too, because they're trying to make me look crazy. As far as I'm concerned, they're just trying to cover that up too. Okay, we're going to go on. This is a police report from 120. Okay, these are the two officers that showed up: Blake Bush and Trent Sellers. Okay. Complaint advised her husband came home, told his wife they'd been getting in their house, stealing stuff. She's been letting them in. Advised his firearm, claimed that she stole it. Complaint advised her husband's going crazy, currently being treated for ADHD, because everybody with ADHD is crazy, right? That, you know. And then here the police, verbal only male, half extremely 1096. Okay. And remember, right after they left, that's when the ex-wife told me, we're creating a document trail on you, you know. And it was these two guys that put me in the back of a car that had a baggie of marijuana laying in the seat, said, we better not be called again here for this stuff. And I believe these guys know about the underground home in the backyard, and I think real police should ask them. Okay, I'm going to show you another one. Okay, here I am crawling out after I'm shot. My phone line was cut 39 days after I was threatened. The reason I didn't call when the burglar alarm's going off, see, the nurse documented me saying, sirens are going off, alarms kept going off. Well, buddy, why didn't you call the police when the alarm's going off? Because them police came to my home and put me in the back of a car with a bag of marijuana and told me I better not call the police again. That's why. And then I'm told they were creating a document trail, and it looks like a document trail to cover up my murder. Okay, here, this public information here, the neighbor across the street, John Lejeune, and what I found out, that was the brother-in-law of Congressman Conaway. It's the brother, actually, of Suzanne Conaway, okay? And living in that house, this is this house here. I had to take the address off, but it's, you know, it's one of the 9 houses in this cul-de-sac on Fair Circle, across the street from my house. You see where John Lejeune, brother-in-law of Conway, lived there, okay? Well, after that, Daniel Price lived there, okay? Remember, Danny said, well, just take your house. Well, Daniel Price used to live across the street when I moved here. They sold it right before I was shot, okay? That's what happened right here in April of 2011, okay? But Daniel Price married Brandy. This is my home here, married Brandy Merrill. Brandy Merrill used to own my home. She's the one that sold it to Mike Lawhon, okay? They were living across the street. Brandy and Daniel were living across the street from me when I bought my home. Ain't that a small world? Okay, when I contacted Conaway, okay, and then met his staff, sent him evidence and all that, he sent me this official letter from Congress of the United States. This is something you might hang on the wall, right? Okay, from Mike Conaway, a congressman, right? Well, he advised me to contact the Office of Inspector General at the Department of Justice, Michael Horowitz. He didn't tell me that Horowitz lived in Midland, okay? I didn't know that for several years later, but Horowitz would never contact me back. And, you know, and I wondered why. Now I wonder if it's because he knew about the underground homes. He was one of the high rollers, okay? Here's Homeland Security text message on the day I met him at the Home Depot store and showed him where I believe the tunnel's located, okay? Used for the parties, okay? He says, we're in the parking lot at the Home Depot in White Ford and Black Ford, okay? And then here he texts me after we left that day, buddy, let's get something real clear. I'm not trying to talk you into selling your home today. I simply asked you why you wouldn't consider selling your home if you continue to feel threatened there, you know? And what I've, he says it's a recorded conversation, but what I've compared that to is a bank is being robbed, somebody gets shot, they call the police, and the police shows up and says, have you thought about selling your bank if you're getting robbed? Ain't that dumb? I called law enforcement not to advise me to sell my home, you know? That's not why I contacted him, okay? Now I'm going to show you here, this lady contacts me on Facebook. She says, word here in Midland is how there's a game room here that all the high officials go to. And you know when bet money, and you know when money and whatever else is down there, okay? And I said, and I told her, I said, in 2012, I suggested to FBI agent Dominic, maybe it's an illegal casino and brothel. And he says, maybe. And that's exactly how he said it. And so that's what I suspected was going on here. Illegal casino, illegal gambling, and the P word and the D word, you know, and then they're murdering the homeowners above that, you know, that are no part of it whatsoever. And they're doing it on my property. Anything under my home's mine. And then here's the previous owner right here, 27 years old. He dies the week before the 2008 oil show party is going to start in his backyard. And then a friend a Facebook friend was a friend of Mike's, wrote me. She says he felt like people were in his house, how he knew people were in his house. And, and then well, I'm told, here they're threatening, the police were threatening to frame me for drugs. Well, I was told he was incarcerated for drugs when I first looked at his house. My realtor, Janine Pruitt, told me that, And then I didn't think nothing about it a few weeks later when I'm told he overdosed, right? I didn't know where it was at or none of that, but, they had a document trail. That's what happened. They had a document trail. And I wonder if they created a document trail on him, killed him, and then I come in, start reporting crimes. They created a document trail on me. Talk to you later, buddy.